What's up, Roscoe? How's it going, man?
Dmogul, we meet again. Or for the first time. Same thing, really.
Just eating dinner right now.
Ooh, eating dinner, huh? Oh, what are you having? That looks really good. What is it? Looks like a fettuccine? Alfredo? Nice.
Just got back into town, huh? Are you still rolling around out there?
Yeah, I was home. I'm not home right now. I'm in my truck, as you could probably tell or not, but in case you can't, I am in my truck and I am in Coachella, California, which is okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm still listening. I just need a little coffee. That's all. Continue.
As long as I'm somewhere where I have great signal, I'm happy. Sometimes, certain places, signal sucks. I'm with Verizon.
Just a moment. Okay, you can continue. You were saying?
I don't know what it is, but that LTE and 5G, forget about the 5G. That 5G is not going to matter for years. But yeah, I'm here just having a nice conversation.
Ah, really? What else? Here you got a Canon 90D. It's a pretty nice camera. Really like that camera. 4K, 24 frames per second, 1080p 120. Nice all-around DSLR. Pretty cool.
I see you got yourself some Twizzlers. Twizzlers are tasty time. I love them. But as good as they are, they're not as good as, say, I don't know, macaroni and cheese, cold, from Popeyes. That was not macaroni and cheese. All right, it's time to get serious. Yes, I do own a Canon 90D, and that is what this is being recorded on right now, 4K 24p, and it does 4K up to 60p. No, it doesn't. It does 4K up to 30p, 1080 up to 120p. Granted, when you're doing the 120, you don't get any audio and you don't get any autofocus, which is a bit of a bummer. And maybe that's just because of the camera's price point, or maybe it's because of the Canon Cripple Hammer. I personally don't believe in that, but there's people out there that are really treading that conspiracy theory line, believing such things, and that's their business. I'm not going to get into that or them right here, right now. So yeah, the Canon 90D, it is a brilliant camera, and I also supplement the 90D's video capabilities with my iPhone 12 Pro Max.
What? You got an iPhone 12 Pro Max? The iPhone 12 Pro Max is pretty nice, but it doesn't quite take up for... It doesn't replace a Sony or a Canon mirrorless or even a traditional DSLR. But yeah, still nice.
Sure. Okay, it might be a bit of a stretch to say or even suggest that cell phones, no matter how good they are, for a cell phone could replace your Sonys, your Canons, your Reds, your Arri Alexas, and such like that. But hear me out, okay? Suppose I was kidnapped, and so was Steven Spielberg, and we were taken together to an island where we had to, in order to get off the island, in order to be set free, we both had to make a movie. And Steven Spielberg is given an iPhone 12 Pro Max or a Samsung S21, as many as he wants, but that's all he could use. All he could use to make his movie is cell phones, and I get whatever cameras I want. So I would take your Aries and your Reds and your Canons and whatever, the good stuff. Now, I have far superior firepower than Steven Spielberg. But do you think he's going to be able to make a better movie with nothing but iPhones and Samsungs? I bet you he would. Because it's not about what the person is filming on, it's about who's doing the filming. It's kind of like photography. When people say, wow, your camera takes really nice photos. It's not the camera that's doing all the legwork. The camera is just capturing the legwork that the shooter has already done. And I think it's the same as video. So while an iPhone can't replace an Arri Alexa, it's not so much about who's using the iPhone. Well, it is about who's using the iPhone and who's using the Arri Alexa or whatever camera, whatever Canon, Nikon, no, not Nikon, forget Nikon, Sony, Red, whatever camera you want to pick. Sure, it can't replace those, but ultimately, it's who's behind the camera that matters.
I have the Canon EOS R6, and it is rocking the 12 megapixel sensor, and it has 4K recording and 60 frames per second, 4K 24. Shoots 1080p and 120 frames per second. And can iPhone 12 Pro Max do that?
Well, Dmogul, I'm glad you asked, because as a matter of fact, the iPhone 12 Pro Max can do that.
Oh, it can film in 4K 60 and 1080p 120, 1080p
240 frames per second.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. What I find fascinating is how the 12 Pro Max is almost on the edge of replacing DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. Now, it might be on the edge, getting close to doing it, but it's still not there. Now, the iPhone 12 Pro has a little tiny sensor. The sensor size in the mirrorless camera DSLR is probably about this big, that big, but fairly big so it can absorb all that nice light and expose your image properly. But still, very impressive. Films in 4K 60. The EOS R6 films in 4K 60. Films in 1080p 120 frames per second. The EOS R films in 1080p 120 frames per second.
I will give you that. If you put the video side by side, even if you record with the iPhone 12 Pro Max in 1080 120, is it gonna look as good as the R6? No, it's not. But let's think about this. Is it so much the quality, like the physical quality of what you're watching versus the substance, the quality of the substance of what you're watching? I mean, sure, the R6, of course, the quality, the physical quality is going to be better than the iPhone 12. However, once again, back to my old point, you have Steven Spielberg shoot something with the iPhone 12, and I'm going to shoot something with the R6. Now, while my picture quality might be better, the substance, not so much. I think people focus too much on the little details that nobody really takes note of when they're watching a film. There's the pixel peepers, and they say, oh, this scene and this frame were, and like they're ignoring what it's actually about. I mean, yeah, if we take an in-depth look at the pixels and this and that, and sure, there's a difference. But is anybody really paying attention to that? I mean, when I was watching Avengers Endgame, for example, or any movie, I wasn't really paying attention to the picture quality as I was to, the overall story. And that's what really matters. And that's why I think an iPhone can stand up to an R6, because if you got the right person behind the camera, I mean, it's not me, but there are people out there, and if they can do it, then yeah, sure, it stands up to the R6. No problem.
Man, well, it seems to me like the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a lot like a DSLR and mirrorless camera. I guess with machine learning and all, it kind of takes away the human effect of actually using a large device such as a DSLR like the 1DX Mark III.
By the way, that R6, I'm pretty jealous. When I was in the market for a new camera, upgrading my ancient T2i, I really wanted an R5. I just couldn't justify spending $5,000 on something that's just a hobby, really. And R6, also kind of pricey. But the 90D, I was, you know what? It's all right. It'll get things done. But the R6, man, that is a nice camera. And sure, yes, absolutely. Looking at a spec sheet, iPhone 12, Canon R6, lots of similarities. And I'll give you that. On paper, they might look similar, but the end product and how it comes out and the ease, I don't even know that's a word, the ease of use to get what you want out of it. You really have to work so much harder with a cell phone to get a better picture than you would with an R6 or a 90D.
Well, the USR can film in 4K 10-bit. 4K 10-bit.
Well, my friend, the iPhone can also record in 4K 10-bit.
Oh, the 12 Pro Max can do that too, huh? Okay. Okay. But does it have IBIS?
IBIS? Well, hey Siri, what is IBIS?
Irritable bowel syndrome, referred to previously as spastic or nervous colon, and spastic bowel, is a functional gastrointestinal disorder characterized by a group of symptoms accompanied together that include abdominal pain and changes in the consistency of bowel movements. Do you want me to keep reading?
No. I don't think it has that. I've never seen it do that. What is IBIS? Oh! Hell yes, it has IBIS. It has IBIS for days. I don't know if that's a saying, but it sounds like something cool kids would say these days. This is a completely handheld shot on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And as you can see, it's very, very steady. Now, obviously, this isn't a good example of how the IBIS works because I'm not really walking along or moving around, but still, it helps keep the shot very steady. And that IBIS also helps in low light photography. It does have IBIS and it works great. I remember on the older iPhones trying to take a video while you're walking. It's shaky, it's jerky, it's janky, but the iPhone 12 takes away a lot of that mess.
It's got 2-axis IBIS built-in stabilization for the sensor. Oh, okay. Well, you only have 3 fixed camera lenses. How about that? You can't even change your camera lenses.
Okay, sure, it only has 3 available lenses. Ultra wide, wide, and telephoto. And obviously you take any Sony, any Canon, they have multitudes of lenses available. However, is that really a deal breaker? I mean, maybe for a photographer, but for videography, I'm not so sure. Let me just pick up my iPhone 12 Pro Max right here and tell you some movies that were shot on a single lens. Just one lens, the entire movie. The Wrestler was shot on a 12mm lens. That's it. Valhalla Rising used only a 16mm lens. Birdman, an 18mm lens. We have The Godfather, which was entirely shot on a 40mm lens, and we have Psycho, which was shot solely on a 50mm lens. So the fact that the iPhone 12 Pro Max has 3 lenses, I'd say that's pretty good. You can do a whole lot because, once again, it's all about who's doing what with what. Plus, you can get lens attachments and ND filters for your iPhone 12 Pro Max or Samsung S21. Does any top tier phone, you could, I mean, I don't recommend the lenses. I wouldn't get them.
Oh, well, damn. So you're saying you can get lens attachments and ND filters? Oh. Okay. Well,
It's really not that big of a deal breaker if The Godfather can be shot on a single lens. I'm sure somebody could do a lot with an iPhone 12 or Samsung S21, whatever the phone. They could do a whole lot with it. The fact that it only has 3 lenses isn't really a crippling factor.
What else can this device do? Like, what am I missing here?
Well, it can do a lot of different things. And I think we should specify this isn't only about the iPhone 12 Pro, because I don't want to get the Android people in here all butthurt as they usually get, because the S21 Samsung is also a brilliant phone. And this phone, just like any modern smartphone, can do a whole lot. It can... This is an important app for me. It's called Willy Weather. Don't take that the wrong way. It's got nothing to do with willies, but it tells you wind speeds and how high they're gusting and this and that. That's important for me to know as a trucker, right? It could do phone calls, which is an awesome feature to have for a phone. Text messaging, music, podcasts. I got all my streaming stuff right there. You know, you stream your Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever, CBS, Peacock, Discovery Plus. Pretty much got them all, right? It can do all that. I mean, like any modern smartphone, it's got... All right, think about, back in the day, when you had to have 50 million different devices to do different things. You had your tape player, you had your audio recorder, you had your TV, your VCR, or your Betamax, or your Laserdisc, whatever. This is all of that in one device. Plus, you can make videos, you can take pictures. Whereas with the Canon, I can't make phone calls with my 90D. I wish I could. Imagine walking down the street holding a Canon 90D to the side of your head and be like, yeah, I'll be home in 5 minutes, when you know it's going to be at least 15.
I'm impressed. Yep. I'm definitely very impressed. This is a really awesome device. So on one end, you can take phone calls, text message your friends, go on instant messaging apps, Facebook, Snapchat. You can even order a pizza. And then right after you're done with that, you can film a video, take some pictures. I get it. It's very versatile. Well, I can shoot various different picture modes like standard, portrait, landscape, C-Log. Yeah, but
there, it can do that too. There are apps for that, such as ProTake, Filmic Pro. There's apps for everything. And it allows you to film with constant frame rates, adjusting your own shutter speed, adjusting your frames, adjusting your ISO, all that. Apps like ProTake and Filmic Pro allow you to do, as well as film in Log C. Check this out. Ooh, always check your settings before hitting the record button. This is me filming on the ProTake app with the iPhone 12 Pro in Log C, just like your fancy Canon R6.
Oh, there's an app for that? Okay. Now, in comparison of a camera, which one would you rather use? Your DSLR or your iPhone?
Which would I rather shoot on? Well, obviously, I would rather shoot on the Canon 90D. Obviously, that goes without saying. Unfortunately, even if you take a T8i, or let's do an SL3, which is nice, small, compact, even with an SL3, it's a bit chonky, like myself. And so it doesn't really, I mean, how can I put this? I would always prefer to film with the Canon 90D. Always, whether it's photos, whether it's videos. I get that I'm trying to make a case for the cell phone, but the feature that the phone has that the camera doesn't is size. Whether it's a 90D, R6, you can even take an SL3, which is tiny. But compared to an iPhone or iPhone 11, iPhone 12, Samsung S21, they're huge. And so if it's just for something where I just kind of want to run and gun, I much prefer this cell phone.
So I've heard enough about the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's a great camera. I mean, phone. Jack of all trades, master of none. It's great that it has 10-bit 422 HDR. It's amazing. It's amazing. 4K 60, 1080p 120. It has almost pretty much the same thing that you can get out of the R6, the 1DX Mark II, the Canon 90D, and probably just about every most recent rendition of Sony camera crop sensor or full frame that's come out. You can do all this inside of an iPhone, but the quality might be really close, but it's based off of software calculations and not hard raw details that are built into the device. So that's why the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a jack of all trades, but a master of none, because it can do so many different things very well, but it can't do one thing perfect. And that's why I still rely on the Canon EOS R6 for filmmaking and photography, or something like the Canon EOS C70 perhaps. Now, talking about a camera, that's one heck of a camera right there. But anyways, not to throw dirt on anybody who films with a phone, because I film with my iPhone 11 Pro Max, and a lot of occasions I have the Polar Pro Light Chaser Pro case with the 3 to 5 stop variable ND filter on it, and I use the Filmic Pro app on occasion, but most of the time I'm using the ProTake app. And the ProTake app is amazing because it has the ability to set your settings appropriately so that you can get the right exposure. And with using the variable ND filter, I can take it outside and I have to worry about changing my shutter speed or shutter angle, and I can still get the kind of exposure I'm looking for, and maybe match it closely to if I'm using the DSLR and I just need a second shooter, I can use it as a second shooter. But if that is all I have something to use rather than having nothing. So still, great device. Both these devices are good. iPhone 11 Pro Max, iPhone 12 Pro Max, Canon EOS R6, Canon 90D, and more cameras to come in the future. It's all about perspective,
I have to concede, cell phones are never going to be on par with mirrorless cameras or SLRs, or definitely not cinema cameras. It's just never going to happen. Whatever advancements in those technologies are made, well, you're going to have your standard cameras here, and as they go up, the phones are always going to be over here, and they're never ever going to catch up. It's always going to rely on those algorithms and that computer learning to make a brilliant image or video from a small tiny sensor, like you stated, and it's just never ever going to compare against that raw format. Like, a camera is capturing all that information, it's not rendering it with some overlay to make it look good as cell phones do. And so ultimately, yeah, I would always prefer to film with the camera. If I'm making some kind of special specific project, or even if I'm just like right here filming myself, I use the 90D. I don't use the cell phone. It's just because you have to work so much harder to get the same kind of image. And I also don't have the ability to easily control the settings. I mean, yeah, I could stick it up there, put one settings, video. I have no way to monitor the video is what I'm saying. Here, I could just flip you out the screen, or right here on my computer, and see the image that I'm going to get. And with a cell phone, yeah, it's not so easy. They definitely have their place in the world. I would never, like you said, dog anybody using a cell phone to make films, because again, in the right hands, a person can do some brilliant things with a cell phone. I mean, if you can't make a brilliant movie with a cell phone, you're not going to be able to do it with whatever camera you have in your hands. And ultimately, I think that's what it boils down to. Not so much about the hardware, but the person that is using it.
I appreciate the discussion. This was very, very good talk. And man, I'll talk to you later, bruh. Peace.
Dmogul, thank you so much for participating in this collaboration, even though it was a bit of a mess. Again, that's not on you. That's completely on me. I went into this without any structure, without any grand idea, but I think we were both, like I said earlier, shooting from the hip, just as a proof of concept thing, I suppose. That's the way we can look at it in a more positive light. But I would definitely love to do it again. And if you have any friends or YouTubers that that you would love to join in on the conversation, absolutely, the more the merrier. A topic I think I definitely would love to talk with you about is hybrid cameras. Can they be made to be both brilliant at photos and video? So that's a topic I think we should definitely talk about next time, if you are interested in doing another collaboration sometime in the future. Once again, thank you so much, and thank you, the person sitting at your computer or laying in your bed or sitting on the bus, watching your phone. Thank you also for watching very much.